Very briefly, guys, streaming paid net change estimate for the subscriber numbers for Netflix. We're expecting 4.47 million. Don't get too used to getting these numbers, though, because come next year, we're not going to get those anymore.
You know, there's a whisper number out there, too.
What's the whisper?
6.5 million. Ooh, it's a big gap.
Well, there you go. That's a big gap. And it gets to this idea, too, as to sort of what's going to be really the most important driver. And when we talk about the idea, okay, they want us to focus on profit. They want us to focus on top-line revenue, too. But sort of what's the in-between there that we're going to be able to use to parse where that's going if they're not giving us those subscriber numbers?
Average revenue per member.
They're not giving us that either. They're suspending that after next quarter.
But the revenue per member?
Yeah,
they're
man. Yeah, we just had Tim Nolan from Macquarie. He said, yeah, that's gone, man.
Oh, I thought Geetha told us earlier. That's
Tim,
what we have to look for starting next year. I know
Tim, you're living in the past, man.
I know
you got to move to the future here. Let's get through the numbers real quick here before those earnings cross the wire here. You have green across some of the major indices here, though modest gains on the day. A Dow Jones Industrial Average looks like it's going to settle higher by about 0.4%. We're just going to call the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ unchanged, and the Russell 2000 lower here on the day. Netflix earnings crossing the wire. You want streaming ads? You got them. 5.1 million new subscribers added in the most recent quarter on a net basis. The street had been looking for 4.5 million. Revenue for the full year, fiscal 2025, the company is expecting $43 to $44 billion. The street, guys, was looking for 43.4.
Okay, let's take a look at margins as well. Netflix sees full-year operating margin at 27%. Previously, it had seen 26%. The consensus estimate was for 25.9%. And I bring this up because Netflix wants everyone to focus on profitability and margins in particular. It's moving away, as we mentioned, from those subscriber growth numbers. It really wants you to look at margins, and it wants to achieve that through advertising. And the paid advertising here is what we're all paying attention to now.
The company saying that their content has been a little patchy because of the impact of the Hollywood strikes. So still feeling the effects of those, given that, the production timeline for this stuff is relatively extended. And what they have now, they've been working on for quite a while. So, Molly, still seeing the effect of those strikes when it comes to the content that's coming out.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, if there was another, a different positive to take from this, just thinking back to when I used to cover credit and we're all about looking at free cash flow, that looked pretty positive. That's up 16% year over year, came in at roughly 2.2 billion. Estimate was for 1.7. So that's a nice beat on the free cash flow. And I'm sure all the bond guys out there are definitely liking that. I mean, Netflix, not the biggest borrower out there, but I mean, still a pretty solid name if you're looking to trade that one.
Looking through the shareholder letter, they do talk a little bit about that ad membership, saying ad memberships up 35% quarter on quarter, and the ad tech platform, something that Tim Nolan at Macquarie was talking about a little bit earlier on the program, that is on track to actually launch in Canada in Q4. So now expanding to new markets. And we were just talking with Keith Gangle over at Gradient, really talking about the potential impact that live events could have. And this gets to your comment, Tim, this idea about content here. Of course, that big Jake Paul-Mike Tyson fight that nobody asked for, but we're still going to get. And, of course, those 2 NFL games on Christmas Day.
Yeah, forget playing with all the toys you get from Santa Claus. There are 2 NFL games happening on Christmas Day on Netflix. Other stuff that they talk about being breakout hit shows, not going to surprise you if you've been paying at all any attention to the zeitgeist. Monsters, the Lyle and Eric Menendez story from Ryan Murphy, The Perfect Couple with Nicole Kidman.
Yeah.
Nobody wants this.
Now,
did you say nobody wants this?
Wait, what happened with Monsters? Now, did they not do it? I'm confused because every time I see some of these Netflix specials on these like murder investigations, it's always like, apparently we all got it wrong.
Yeah. Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
I haven't
Scarlett,
seen
you
them.
watch a lot of TV.
I haven't finished it yet, so I can't tell you much.
There's 2 of them, though. There's 2 of them.
I hear they're brothers, right?
No, not just
competing stories. Yeah.
Monsters, the Lyle and Eric Menendez story, and then there's the Menendez brothers documentary also.
Yeah. I have watched Nobody Wants This. It's great. I also watched The Perfect Couple. So yeah, Romaine's right. I do watch a lot of Netflix. One thing I want to point out,
The Perfect Couple, was that the Liam? What's the guy's name? Liev Schreiber.
Liev Schreiber and Nicole Kidman.
Oh, I actually saw that. See, I saw something, Scarlett. I'm proud of
there was
myself.
some embedded advertising in that because they were talking about Doritos and Cool Ranch chips, and I feel like that is something that Netflix is going to lean more towards in the future.
But don't tell me the end because I actually didn't see the end, so I have no idea. I have no idea who killed who, but there you go.
I mean, as far as what we're looking forward to in the fourth quarter, I mean, Netflix is highlighting here, we're going to have the returning hit. Squid Game Season 2 is coming back. I don't know if you guys were into that one the first time around. I mean, that was a massive massive show when that first debuted. Outer Banks season 4, Love is Blind season 7. Tim and I were just talking about that one where the cast is set in DC and none of these people seem to have DC related jobs. But I think that Love is Blind, and obviously in the other markets they've explored too,
is it
with
like
the
Congress
UK.
people hooking up or what?
It's crazy. I literally just finished season 6, so I'm genuinely a year behind, but I'm very eager to start watching
I'm
it.
6 years behind, so
Yeah,
don't
so
feel bad, Molly. But getting back to the numbers, though, too, it does get, in all seriousness, it gets to this idea of what you want to hear from Reed Hastings on that call, which is kind of a scripted call, but still, what's the vision that he's going to articulate? Because we talk about this idea of not having visibility through those traditional metrics.
Look,
is he going to offer up something else, Tim?
Look, if you're an investor and you're a customer, you want two different things. If you're an investor, you want to hear about a price raise in the United States.
Yes.
If you're a customer, you don't want to hear about that.
No.
You also want to hear, if you're an investor, about what they're doing in terms of advertising and what that advertising product looks like since launching it just a couple of years ago. They do say in the letter, we have more work to do improving our offering for advertisers. It'll be a priority over the next few years. They're going to do an in-house first-party ad tech platform. Yeah. They're going to roll it out in Canada, broader ads to countries in 2025. Remember who they're competing with here when it comes to advertising. I mean, you're competing with the huge players, the Googles of the world, the Meta platforms of the world, the TikToks of the world, Instagram, everybody out there.
I just want to point out, too, just the share reaction here, too. This is probably one of the more tepid share reactions we've seen
muted
in Netflix. Now, coming into today, the market was basically saying we were going to get about an 8% up or down move, of course, in the cash session tomorrow. But to see the post-market move of just a fraction of a percent is kind of alarming.
Yeah, and to Tim's point, I think the stock will really move in after-hours trade once they do get any kind of clarity on what the paid subscribers and the advertising revenue looks like for that tier. One thing worth noting here is that revenue is slated to slow down sequentially the next couple of quarters. For the third quarter, revenue rose about 15%. For the fourth quarter, it's seen staying at around that level. And then first quarter of next year, revenue is seen slowing to 13%. Second quarter seen slowing down to 12%.
But the thing about that is, so I went back and looked through those numbers, really go back over the last few years. They've been in this position before where you've seen that slowdown in that revenue growth number. And somehow they've always found a way to get that back up, whether it's with new content or whatever.
Or price increases.
Or price increases. But that's, they have pricing power.
But they do have pricing power, and I think that's going to be, at least in the U.S. and Canada, the lever that they're going to have to pull, because, given that the penetration has increased here with the crackdown on password sharing, that's kind of short-lived, according to analysts. The only way for them to actually grow when it comes to revenue is to raise their prices.
But just real quickly, though, why not the international markets? Because when you look through this release here and you look at the performance in international markets, it's negative signs in front of everything in terms of growth. I mean, I thought that was supposed to be the big expansion plan a couple of years ago.
It was when they flipped that switch at CES like 10 years ago, and they said, Netflix is now available worldwide. That was the huge opportunity. Every market is different. We'll have to wait and see what they say on the call about where they see the most prospect for growth.
Yeah, and I mean, also just a lot of questions right now swirling about how, the valuation of the stock and how expensive it is. I mean, again, we're talking about a pretty muted market reaction right now, but if that materially changes after this, I mean, this is a stock that's up almost 340% from 2 years ago. So pretty crazy rise.
Absolutely. People are looking for reasons to buy the stock, and they need more clarity. They need more clarity on the number of subscribers added to the advertising tier.
Romaine, what are you watching on Netflix right now?
Zero, nothing. Squadoosh.
He's going to watch the end of The Perfect Couple.
Yeah, I don't know. Probably
we just started Slow Horses
like a year and a half.
on
That's Apple.
Heard it's great.
Yeah.
So far, so
Never
good.
heard of that either.
I think that's the challenge, though. Carol mentioned a thing that she was watching on Netflix on our program. Turns out it wasn't even on Netflix because, customers don't necessarily know where they're going. Hey, we got to go.
Do you hear the same thing in my ear?
Our producer's saying
when the producer says we got to go? Or just checking.
All right. Okay. I'm going to let that one go. That's for Finley in our ears. That is going to do it for our cross-platform coverage.
I thought that was just
on radio, TV, YouTube, and Bloomberg Originals. We'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place.